worst accident on a Segway?
Oh God, you had to ask that. Yeah.
Hey everybody, we're here with Dara Mihaly from Ignitours. Dara, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thanks, Josh.
Okay, so tell us, first let's start with who are you? What drives you? What wakes you up in the morning, and why did you get into this whole business in the first place?
Well, I love storytelling and I love traveling. I've spent over a decade building tours, telling stories from historic neighborhoods to landmarks. Um, and really, it's because I grew up with some artsy bohemian parents who thought that travel was very valuable and would take me on train trips and long cross country road trips. And we weren't having, expensive or fancy vacations, but it was enough to really inspire me to want to get into travel and to make it just an integral part of who I am. And I've pretty much developed a career around it.
Yeah, I mean, you've been working a lot in the obviously the travel industry from really rolling up your sleeves all the way through to having your own company. Could you talk a little bit about how you started?
Well, I started as a Segway tour guide, which was an interesting way to get into the tour game, but I had so much fun doing it. I still actually kind of want to hop on one once in a while. But I did everything really. I did wine tours, I did luxury driving tours, I did food tours. And I also worked at Griffith Observatory in operations and guest services. So hospitality, tourism kind of was the path I was leaning towards. And then I moved to New York City and I shifted into operations and management, tour development. And that's when everything started to click and come together. And yeah, it was earning me a living, but also purpose.
When I go on these tours, I can't help but think about the tour operator having just done another one in the morning. They're going to do another one tomorrow. It takes a certain type of person to give a tour repeatedly. What would you say is the common trait that tour operators have to have that makes them really stand out among, I think, a normal person who cannot repeat themselves?
I mean, you genuinely have to like what you do. And being in front of people, you can't really fake that component. So you either have hospitality or you don't. So if you are a people person and you do like to tell stories, even if you're an actor, a performer, a musician, it really lends itself well to that. And you'd find, even if you're doing the same route and talking about the same history, you get different questions based on who's participating and the things that they engage with. So really, every tour is unique.
It's funny because one of your first things that you said was hospitality. And I think a lot of people say, well, as a tour guide, I just love the stories. I love telling the stories. There are a lot of stories I love. I don't want to hear them, nor do I want to tell them repeatedly. There's
Right.
this other level though that a tour operator has where I enjoy the conveying, I enjoy the treatment of people as new people that I want to kind of impart information to. Is that
Sure.
almost like supersedes the actually story itself? It's the desire to
Yeah.
share it, right?
I mean, being from San Francisco, born and raised, and actively guiding here, I'm an ambassador to this city, and it's important to me to share, a lot of the positive qualities. I mean, any major city is going to be complex, but I view myself as an ambassador. I want people to go away from their experience in San Francisco or Los Angeles or wherever I am, feeling positively about that city and how they can engage with it deeper, to make it more meaningful for them and for the community. I think that's important.
Speaking of ambassadors, I think now more than ever, the US needs ambassadors.
Yeah.
What are the messages you would say to people trying to or thinking about coming to the US or specifically San Francisco, especially during a time like we have going on right now?
Yeah. I think it's important to challenge your perceptions and to think critically and to come up with your own sort of opinions about cities, places, and people. Firsthand experience is so valuable. And I think that travel, I know this sounds cheesy, but I think it will change the world positively. So if more people were doing it and engaging in it, whether it's locally, domestically, globally, it's very enriching. So I hope that people continue to come to the United States. And I'm excited to see more domestic travelers because there's a lot of cool things here.
Yeah, we're seeing obviously a decline in international tourism, but we're going to be seeing, I presume, increase in domestic tourism. Is that what you're also experiencing?
It actually is. So right now we're in spring break, right before Easter, and this whole month can be very busy. And I've noticed personally for my company an increase in domestic travelers. So I'm hoping that that trend continues.
Yeah. Okay. Now tell us what Ignite Tours is. What's the differentiator? What is it all about?
So Ignitours is the walking tour part of our larger company, which is called the Independent Tour Coalition. And it's essentially a collaborative group of tour operators and tour designers that we're passionate about creating experiences. But more importantly, we partner with local experts, museums, and nonprofits, and we want to deliver art and culture focused experiences to people of all ages. And then there's another branch of that, which is kind of a loose working title, free tours for kids. And ultimately, I really want to give these experiences back to underserved communities. That's the two chapters of my business.
And that's really interesting, especially for some of our operational people out there looking to kind of build a career around getting to the market, for example. You talk about a network of independent operators. How do you cut through the noise when you have like huge companies operating in the space and they've got a huge marketing budget? How do you deal with that?
Well, I mean, I have enough industry experience that I've created a really vast network of guides, developers, and also people that work in the back end, the OTA and ResTech. So I'm able to leverage my experience and kind of build my own unique model. And right now, I've had enough people in my own personal database that I've been able to build the business I have and haven't had to do a lot of cold outreach. I'm trying to create a model that I can do that, but I feel very fortunate to have the resources from my experience alone to build what I have up to this point.
Do you do a lot of collabs with these other independent operators in terms of marketing? And
We're starting to explore that. So there is an operator I work with in Los Angeles who I've been working for years. His business has been around longer than mine, so he definitely does shout outs on social media. It goes both ways, but he certainly has a bigger audience. I'm partnering with someone in San Francisco who has a very exciting offering, but doesn't really have the social media reach. So I've started to engage in that level, and I'm seeing a really actually pretty quick response to that. So I work with people in different capacities based on their experience, based on their engagement with technology or, old school methods of getting across by posting a sign. Yeah, it's fun to have the variety.
yeah, and part of the product is the authenticity. People are looking for people who are authentic from day one, even in your marketing messaging. So it almost helps serve that further.
It does, absolutely.
The idea of collaboration, what are some examples of, I mean, do you do cross messaging? Do you do storytelling together?
Absolutely. So, for instance, one of the tours that we have just debuted is, gosh, there have been a couple this spring break, but one is the historic Golden Gate Bay Cruise. And it
That's the
really
yellow boat,
focuses on,
right?
yes, that's the yellow boat. Show it, show the yellow boat. It's a vintage fishing boat that really speaks to not only San Francisco's maritime history, but specifically immigration. San Francisco is a very diverse place, and it's a really cool way to immerse someone in the immigrant experience to San Francisco, especially amongst the fishing industry. And then we do partner with organizations that promote sustainable fishing. And right now, I want to work with the crab organization because it is commercial crabbing season here.
Are people over crabbing? Is that the thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. They do overcrab. So commercial crabbing has shrunk. The season of it has gotten reduced by several months because of migrating whales and other environmental factors. So it's a little bit more limited here in San Francisco when you can get that abundance of Dungeness crab. You certainly can get it year round, but pretty much from, I would say, January to June is when the peak is. And they do have to throw back all of the female crabs so that they can repopulate and, be ready for next season.
Do you find, I mean, obviously there are lots of people from different countries that come on your tours.
Mhm.
Are there any common questions that certain countries may have versus others? For example, in the US, for example, we have certain regulations, as you said, from certain seasons, and some countries may or may not have similar kind of ways to kind of guide or prohibit certain overfishing, overcrabbing. Are there certain things that you're like, wow, you learn from your guests?
I learn things all the time from the guests that ask questions. I would say the most common one that I get from international guests is related to public transit. But within the fishing industry specifically, it's interesting to hear about a lot of countries don't have regulations around fishing. So they're surprised to hear about our sustainability practices. And honestly, every company in San Francisco is a sustainable fishery. And it's not very well advertised. So I think it's one of our goals to communicate that and hopefully inspire people to go, back to wherever country they are and maybe um, look at their fishing industry a little differently.
What are the questions about public transportation that they ask?
Oh man, depends on the city that you're in. Well, San Francisco has, the cable cars and the street cars. So obviously the difference of that. A lot of questions around the buses, and like uh, zero emissions. Is it electric? Is it solar powered? Which is hilarious because San Francisco is very foggy. But I'd love to see more solar powered. Perhaps the cable car someday. Who knows? But then the Waymo, of course, is very disruptive to public transit and Uber. And I love having conversations around this when people come to San Francisco. Every
Well,
country, super just intrigued.
well, I mean, obviously, coming from other parts of the country, even to California, it's like
It's
a
true.
different country in that regard. So when people come to the tour, there's ways to elongate that experience with pre-tour or pre-travel and post-travel. How have you worked with prepping people maybe or giving them advanced information? Do you, and then when after they're finished, do you follow up with them?
I'd say there's more engagement afterwards, at least at this stage of my business. I look forward to developing the nonprofit more and getting an audience from smaller organizations, kind of working in that um, way. But right now, we certainly keep people engaged with basic things like coupon codes, but then content. So I like to feature the organizations that we give back to on each tour. So it gives people a sense of contributing to actually the destination that they've just visited, and then they can not only engage with my company, but they can also go to the local organizations like the sustainable fisheries and maybe engage with them a little bit more.
Have you ever had to kick anybody off of a tour?
Um, I've gotten close. Gosh, I've given a lot of tours. I've had to sort of ignore people. I've never outright kicked someone off tour, but I have warned them, and I can get a bit, just a little curt. And
What was the warning? If they don't do what?
I'm thinking to food tours when people drink a little bit too much
Ah,
and they
okay.
start to hijack your tours. And this has happened on more than one occasion. And I personally will approach it more from a joking, so like, oh, are you leading the tour now? Do you want to talk? And so I kind of put the spotlight on them, and the group
Usually.
sort of does the regulating themselves.
I
And
mean, you're like a stand-up comic. I mean, you've
it's
got a
true.
heckler, and there's very, it's a great skill set. I think every
Yep.
comic probably should learn by just being a tour guide. I mean,
That's a good point. Or vice versa. Me and my friend want
yes,
to do a stand-up walking tour. That is a just a total side project. It would be
it's
good.
you've got the skill set, right? It's just
Mhm.
write the jokes. There are some tour guests, I presume, that ask just a ton of questions. My wife is one of them, and I never
Yes.
know if the tour operator is being polite or if they're really like excited about the endless slew of questions.
I'd say there's a mix in that. Like I love when I get kids who are super interested in the information, and they often don't have the same filters. So they'll interject constantly, and their parents will try to rein them in. But I try to strike the balance of answering their questions, keeping timing, And so one of the things I do is like, okay, hold that question and we will talk about it as we're walking to our next spot. So then I can engage with that individual one-on-one versus, taking the whole group's time for that. But I like it more or less. It can get a little annoying, I'm not going to lie.
Worst accident on a Segway?
Oh God, you had to ask that. Yeah. Okay. So on a Segway, you have to go up the center of the ramp, right? When you go up a pedestrian cross, you don't want to go up on the lip of the curb because that could be problematic.
Oh.
So I was in Beverly Hills and I was leading this group and we made a left turn onto a residential street, and the younger brother of the two did not pay attention to my instructions, and we go through a thorough instruction process in the beginning, and they hit the corner, and it was due to his negligent driving, and his Segway toppled and he kind of got a mouthful of concrete, and it was not the most pleasant thing to witness, but I'm sure it was worse for him. Fortunately, Cedars-Sinai was very close, so he got some good medical services. But yeah, you have to take those things seriously. So safety precautions are always advised. Segway tours, and I mean, even walking tours, you'd be surprised. Drivers out there, kind of crazy.
Yeah, well, we're partially sponsored by an insurance company, so insurance is important when you're traveling.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you about the nonprofit side. How are you getting funding for that? How can people help?
We will start with low-cost tours and discounts for education groups, and then hopefully get more attention. I have a couple of academic associations, which I plan to do outreach with as well. But I have to make some more money before I can give it away.
The future of tour operations, AI, and then some, where do you see it going? Where would you like it to go?
People talk about, digital tour guides or, robot tour guides and what have you. And I don't see the human component ever leaving travel. I understand that technology is exciting and interesting, and I absolutely think you should implement technology, virtual reality, Waymos. I mean, all of that is super cool and should be, of course, added to. But there's something I feel that can't be replaced with an in-person conversation when you're traveling to a new place. So I think technology and humans should really be working hand in hand with travel moving forward.
Dara, thanks again from Ignitours for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.